There are three main names I'm going to bring to your attention. And among the three, there's going to be another one that I'm going to also draw up and pull out and also let you guys know. Number one, you've got Drake, very well-known musician, very popular amongst the youth and young adults and even adults. Then you've got Steph Curry, who's well-known in the basketball game, very famous, followed by both young adults, youth, teens, and adults. Many people follow them. Many celebrities follow these people. And the third name is Dave Chapelle, very well known in the comedy industry, the entertainment industry, very well known. All these people are very well known. They're popular. There's a fourth name now that I'm going to bring to your attention, David Blaine. Many of you should know who David Blaine is. He is a very well-known magician. Not just any type of magician. This is a man who is affiliated or associates himself with the occult in such a way his magics actually get frightening. His magics are pure demonic. This man is none other than what you would call a demon magician. Now, when I use the word demon magician, I'm not saying that the man literally is a walking demon that is simply just performing tricks. No, it's a man who simply has sold his soul, given up his life to the demonic for the sake of being one of the greatest magicians to ever walk the earth. Here's the point that I'm trying to get to. There's a video that's going viral involving these four individuals. David Blaine performed a magic performance right in front of these individuals in such a way that it actually has a prophetic significance to it, and it is actually a spiritual magic trick that he did for these people in such a way that it is actually forecasting or foreshadowing what is soon to take place on earth, or what is taking place. But many of you probably just see that magic trick and you're like, awesome, he just pulled out 3 unclean frogs out of his mouth. Awesome. But you have no idea what the significance of that is. This man is under demonic possession. This man, David Blaine, he is under demonic oppression. He is a slave to the demonic. He is a part of the occult society in such a way that he can't do performances without the spirits instructing him exactly what to do. It was not his idea to pull frogs out of his mouth. It is the devils that follow him, that are with him. The demons that are with him, the ones that guide him and tell him exactly what to do, they are the ones behind it. What is the significance of this? Well, let's dive right into this video. Let's break it down. There's a lot to learn from it. And trust me, you're going to want to pay attention to everything, because this is going to affect you in the world of tomorrow. Many of you know who David Blaine is. He is a top magician. While the man is a top magician, many of you will simply dismiss him as simply nothing more than a trickster, or simply you like to use the words illusionist just to make yourselves feel like whatever these people do, it's not real. It's simply an illusion. It's simply nothing more than a cheap trick that simply just plays mind games with the human brain. However, for those of you who think that David Blaine is nothing more than a cheap trickster, you are absolutely 100% brain dead. Your brain is simply rotting away and being buried away by ignorance. Do not be ignorant. Magic exists. Sorcery exists. These people, they perform real magic. There are cheap tricksters, yes. Tricksters exist. Cheap illusionists exist. However, when you go into real magic, real sorcery, you are dealing with the occult. The occult is real, 100%. The occult exists. For you to say that magic does not exist is for you to simply say the occult world does not exist, and it is for you to also say demons do not exist, the devil is not real. Got the picture? Now here's what I want to share with you. David Blaine has recently performed an occult, satanic, yet prophetic magic trick in front of Drake, Dave Chapelle, and Steph Curry. This magic trick, performed by David Blaine before the eyes of these three big individuals, these big figures in the entertainment and sports industry, it was intentional because he knows these people have major crowds, major followings, and these people are going to be sharing this magic trick before their audience, and the whole world is going to be seeing this video, this magic trick. But here is the thing, ladies and gentlemen, most people are going to look at this and they are simply going to be in awe. They're going to be amazed. They are going to be entertained. But they do not know that David Blaine is a demon magician, simply a man who is possessed by a legion of devils, and he is performing a magic trick according to the will of the demonic. And the demons are instructing him to do this magic according to their likings. And if there's anything about devils that we should all know and must know, is that devils are always going to attack the Bible. But not just that alone, but they in fact love to entertain God's children and the inhabitants of the entire world by giving them foreshadowing hints of what is to come. More specifically, things which are to come according to the Bible. Let's pause right here and look at what David Blaine performed in front of Drake, Steph Curry, and Dave Chapelle. Blaine looks at Drake and he says, "You're thinking of a small creature that can fit in the palm of my hands." Then he looks towards Dave Chapelle and he says, "You're going to draw it." And they're all laughing and just saying, "Oh, I don't know." Dave Chappelle's acting and saying he doesn't know what it is, and even David Blaine says, "You don't know what it is." Then David Blaine takes the cell phone and he says, and I quote, "To me, this looks like a frog." And then he goes on to say, they say that frogs are like plagues. And then Dave Chapelle says, well, those are plagues, the plagues of Egypt, that frogs fell from the sky. Now let's put a pause right here and let's go and look at the actual biblical account of the plagues of Egypt. Specifically speaking, let's narrow it down to the plague of the frogs. What does the Bible say? How did it happen? Look at that. And it's very important. You must pay attention to this because you will understand why David Blaine performed this specific magic trick that deals with the frogs. You will soon understand why this is prophetic. And it was intentional because he is a demon magician. Listen to these words. The Bible speaks.
"And the Lord spake unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thine ovens, and into thy kneading troughs. And the frogs shall come up both on thee and upon thy people, and upon all thy servants. And the Lord spake unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch forth thine hand with thy rod over the streams, and over the rivers, and over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up upon the land of Egypt. And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. And the Egyptians did so with their enchantments, and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt.
Now, don't miss this important point. I read up until the point where Pharaoh's magicians, or the magicians of Egypt, were able to, with their enchantments, they were able to also bring forth frogs. God allowed
these magicians to also bring forth frogs. This perfectly fits with David Blaine's performance before Drake, Steph Curry, and Dave Chapelle. All of this is biblical. Make sure you don't miss this point. God allowed Pharaoh's magicians to bring forth frogs with their enchantments because that would be the final counter movement that God would allow the devil to go. Only up until that point. Because the magicians of the Egyptians used the powers of demons. Remember this. The first time that Moses met with Pharaoh, he threw his staff on the ground and that staff turned into a serpent. Likewise also the magicians of Pharaoh threw their staffs on the ground and they also turned into serpents. However, that which Moses threw on the ground ended up swallowing the other serpents. The second attempt, God turned the rivers and fountains of waters in all of Egypt to turn blood. Likewise also the magicians of Pharaoh, they also turned water into blood. The third and final attempt was the plague of the frogs. God brought forth frogs on the land of Egypt, and the magicians also with the power of devils were able to bring forth frogs. And after the plague of the frogs, God brought forth lice on the land of Egypt. And the Bible says, and the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon men and upon beasts. Then the magicians said unto Pharaoh, This is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord said. In other words, the reason why God prevented the devil from continuing to do further replicas of his signs and plagues upon the land of Egypt was to show us, his children, that the devil's last counter movement was the frogs then, and the devil's last final counter movement in the last days will also have to do with frogs. Can you see a reflection? History repeats itself. Frogs were brought forth by the devil then, but it would be the final movement then, and at the end of time, the devil's final counter movement in his war against heaven and against the saints of the Most High God will have to do with frogs. And that is found in the book of Revelation, because in this book of the Apocalypse, John the Revelator describes seeing 3 unclean spirits like frogs. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of this as of yet, so let's put a pause right here and let's go and look at David Blaine, standing before the world's big names in the sports and entertainment industry. David Blaine simply represents the magicians from ancient Egypt, but except he would not bring forth signs that will point people back to the past, but he is actually performing a sign that is pointing people to what is about to transpire, because he is not performing this of his own will, but rather he is performing by the will of the demonic. These people hear instructions that are being given to them. When they want to perform these magic tricks, the spirits are the ones that tell them exactly what to do. David Blaine is simply a disciple and a carrier, because he is simply a walking temple that is performing the will of the devil. Out of his mouth, as he performs this trick in front of Dave Chapelle, Drake, and Steph Curry and other people around them, he begins to take a glass with water and he begins to spit into that glass, and out of his mouth comes forth a frog. He stuns everybody around him. Everybody's stunned. Then second, he takes another glass filled with water, and out of his mouth comes a second frog. He spits that frog into that water. Then he pauses and he says, make sure that there's nothing in my mouth. He opens his mouth. He sticks his tongue out. It's clear. Then he grabs another glass filled with water, and lo, out of his mouth comes a third frog, and he spits that frog in that third glass filled with water. Altogether, there were 3 frogs that came out of the mouth of David Blaine. Frogs are unclean creatures. Yet out of his mouth, out of the mouth of David Blaine, comes forth 3 unclean frogs. Does that sound familiar to you, what I just said to you right now? Listen to the parallel of this. Listen to the irony of this. Let's go to the Bible. Revelation, the book of the Apocalypse, clarifies this for us. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. So what are we seeing here? Obviously, David Blaine is not the dragon. He is not the false prophet. He is not the beast. No. However, he is a part of the government of the dragon. Who is the dragon? Well, the dragon is none other than the devil. Now, this passage of Revelation is speaking not in an actual literal sense. However, it is a spiritual and figurative language that is talking about the last deception that will take place just prior to the second coming of the Lord God. These are the events leading to the battle of Armageddon. It is a spiritual warfare. It is a spiritual battleground. And what we are seeing right now is the image of the beast is being made right before our very eyes. Protestant America is uniting with the Roman papacy. What we are witnessing is the image of the beast being erected right before our very eyes as of today. By this, we should see that America is going to have to be in a state of religio-political type of a government. You will see things like Christian values being restored, Christian values being brought back on a national scale, eventually leading to what is known as a national Sunday law. This is something that happened in the past. It is something that is going to happen once again. History always repeats itself.
So, by this, we should be able to know that nothing is done by pure chance. Nothing is done by accident. If we know who the real rulers of this world are, we can know for certain that nothing is done by accident. If we know who is the one that's behind Hollywood and who is behind the entertainment industry, then we know for certain nothing is performed by accident. Movies are carefully orchestrated to come out at certain times with certain messages for reasons. It is not by pure chance. Nay, when Drake goes to perform, and many of you love Drake, do you think that he is just simply there just to make you happy, just to entertain you and this and that? It is all, the entertainment industry is a spiritual industry. Once again, I'm going to repeat this so you can understand it. The entertainment industry is a spiritual industry. Why? Because they are focused on destroying anything that has to do with God, and they are filling your minds with occult rituals, occult practices, occult musics. They're filling your minds with doctrines of devils. They're bombarding you. And you know what you're doing? You are helping them destroy you. You're not helping them to help you in a way. No, you are actually helping them to further their agenda of desensitizing you and conditioning you to accept the doctrines of devils. And we are living in a time where the three unclean spirits like frogs are moving out to bring the world. They're moving out to now bring the world to the last final deception. These are things that you must understand are taking place. But yet, you're going to sit back and allow these people to entertain you. You're being entertained by demon magicians. You're being entertained by people who practice Satanism. And you're consuming their materials. What are you doing? Are you helping yourself? No. you're helping them, not you. There's a lot to talk about on this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Controversy 7. Thank you for tuning in and for joining me. For those of you, if this is your first time tuning into this channel, be sure to subscribe. There's a lot of information coming across your way, so be sure to subscribe. Stay tuned, and also feel free to join me on Facebook. My link is in the video description box. When you hit like on my Facebook fan page, be sure to hit get notifications, because Facebook does not send notifications out anymore. And you can feel free to go on my website, www.thecontroversy7.ca. But hey, I'm not going to hold you up for too long. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Kids, as I always say, don't do drugs. Stay safe. Keep yourselves out of trouble. And I will see you guys next time.